I know it sounds weird to say I'm so excited to be doing a video that is quite heavy, but I weirdly love talking about grief because I really love helping people navigate their grief. And that's what we're going to do today. Hello, if you're new here, I'm Cardia. I currently live in London. I'm from Australia. I do YouTube, social media bits and bobs. My biggest passion is mental health and talking about mental health and talking about things that sometimes people don't enjoy talking about or struggle talking about. So I'm here to be your big sister today to help you navigate grief, losing a loved one, of losing a friend. It could be grief for someone that is still alive. Hopefully all this advice can help with no matter what you're going through. I'm going to be speaking from my own experience. I have some notes here, so if you see me looking down, I am just referring to them because I wanted to make sure I hit every point that I want to make. But I felt like this was the right time to do this video because yesterday was my dad's 4-year anniversary since he passed, which is so crazy because it feels like it's been longer than that. And then it also feels like it was a few months ago. Some days it feels like it happened yesterday. And that's how grief works. But the truth is grief is very messy. It's very unpredictable. It can go away for months and months at a time and you just feel normal. And then one day you can wake up and it can feel completely unbearable. I think after sharing my journey with losing my dad, I realized how many other people were going through grief and really not knowing how to handle it, just like I didn't know how to handle it when it happened to me for the first time, which was actually when I was very young and I lost my auntie, who was actually my dad's sister, and she was my best friend growing up. We were incredibly close. The grief I experienced losing her was the most painful thing that I had experienced at such a young age, besides being bullied in high school. They almost feel the same in different ways. But the grief I felt losing her compared to the grief I felt losing my dad were such different experiences. And I wanted to start by saying that grief is a universal feeling. However, it is, sorry, my voice is a bit funny today. However, it is a very unique experience. Every single person or thing that you grieve, honest to God, feels different to the other. It's like how they say every single love that you have in your life often feels completely different. I guess today we're going to be highlighting my experience with losing my dad. As I said, it was his anniversary yesterday and it really got me thinking about my journey and how it's been 4 years and how I've been navigating it. And I just wanted to have an honest conversation with you guys today. Give some of my advice, but also be just completely raw, honest, and just talk about it. And I certainly don't have it all figured out. Certainly no guru in this. I just want to be real and let you in on, I guess, what grief actually feels like and how I have navigated it. So I want to say you could watch this maybe even if you're not going through grief, but you're trying to support someone moving through grief. Hopefully this video can just help for anyone that needs some assistance with it. I'll try and be as broad as I possibly can. So let's begin. So what does grief actually feel like? The first thing I want to say is that grief is definitely not how movies make it out to be. It's definitely not just sadness. It is confusion. It is numbness. It is anger. Sometimes it's all of those feelings in the same hour or the same minute. You can be crying in your car, then suddenly laughing the next second with your friends. Honestly comes in waves, some that are so small and some that just completely knock you down or knock you out for a few days at a time. For me, grief has also felt extremely physical. Disassociation, tiredness, depression, anxiety. Like, it's actually wild how your body holds on to grief. And for example, 2 weeks in the lead up to my dad's 4-year anniversary, I have never felt more tired and drained in my life. Like, I could not bring myself to want to socialize, go to anything, drink, party. Like, I felt super insular. I'm a pretty extroverted person. I did not want to be around people, just one person at a time, 2 people max at a time. And I was wondering, what the hell's going on with me? Like, why am I, it's like I'm not depressed, but I just feel so insular. And then I realized what time of year it was. And every year I notice around this time, I kind of go into an extreme hermit mode and I feel really sad and I never know why. It's grief. And it's super normal. I also think that's why it's hard for people to necessarily understand grief and understanding that it's so not linear if they haven't been through it before. You kind of don't, and I don't want this to upset you, but you kind of don't just get over it one day. You learn how to live with it, you find your survival mechanisms, and you find ways to transform it into something quite beautiful and positive, or at least that's what I hope I can help you do today. It's about learning how to build a new life around this big missing piece. Let's talk about the guilt of moving on. The timeline of grief is something that's very confusing. After I lost my dad, I didn't know when I was supposed to just like get on with life again. I think it felt super weird. Everyone around me was treating me differently. I didn't know how to act around people. Sometimes if I like felt normal really soon after his passing, I almost felt guilty. Like, are people going to judge me that I'm laughing and like out and about and feeling normal? And I mean, it's a very normal feeling. You almost feel like you're betraying them, or you're not grieving long enough, you're not sad enough for long enough, or it could also be the opposite. Like, you're struggling to be normal again and people move on and you haven't yet. So that timeline of moving on is very, very confusing. My experience with moving on was that straight after my dad passed, I was extremely, extremely numb, like in deep, deep denial. I had a really hard time coming to grips with it. And the way I responded was I spent all my time with my friends and I went out a lot. Like, I was at a party, I think 4 days after my dad died, 5 days, maybe a week. I can't really remember, but I was at a party and I was running from myself. It was a coping mechanism for sure, and I don't regret it. It was just how I dealt with it at the time. But people could definitely look at that and be like, whoa, what the hell? Like, didn't her dad just die? There's no right or wrong way of moving forward and wanting to face it or really feel it. You feel that when you're ready. Something I've definitely realized is grief doesn't mean you just stop living. The love doesn't just disappear. Just because it's time for you to move forward doesn't mean you don't care and that you're not deeply saddened by what happened. I always think, if anything, living is just a way to honor them, because that person would not want you sitting around wasting your life away just in agony. Healing is definitely not about forgetting them. It's just about finding ways to honor them in your everyday life. And the way that I found when my dad passed that I love to do this was I began to find a lot of joy in my grief by talking about my dad. Like, if I could talk about him to people, and I would tell stories about my dad. I loved talking about his quirks and funny little things. And I loved talking about how similar I was to my dad, even though we had quite a complex relationship. My grieving moved in so many weird progressions. As I said, extreme partying, and then days of denial, days of isolation, days of not acknowledging it all and honestly just forgetting that it had even happened. And then the days of remembering and journaling about it and looking through old photos. And then days of being so fucking angry, and angry at him and angry at the universe and angry that things happened the way that they did. The waves are extreme, and 4 years later they are still the same, but I handle them differently now. So however your process moving forward looks, that is individual to you. And I'm telling you, there is no right or wrong formula to this. The more you can feel, the more you can honor your feelings, the more you can honor everything coming up, the sooner your body can adjust to this new life and these new feelings that you're having without this person around. And then that's the sooner you can find ways to celebrate them and make it less intense and less painful. So my next point is friendships and relationships during grief. Very complex. Grief really exposes a lot. You can see who shows up, who's there, your real friends are, who your real support system is. You see who goes quiet. And the thing is that sometimes it's not that people don't care. It's just that they don't know how to show up. They don't know how to be there. They don't know how to confront this grief and loss, and death can be quite confronting and scary for some people. It's such a sensitive topic. And I think, yeah, people just don't know how to approach the topic or the situation. And maybe they don't know what to say or how to be there, which it's not hard. I'll tell you that if you are watching and you're trying to help someone moving through grief, okay, it can be hard, but really the simplest thing is that it's just about presence and showing up. The ones that helped the most were the people in my life that they weren't there to try and fix it. They weren't there to try and change anything. Obviously, you can't. They were just the ones that showed up. They sat with me. They checked in on me relentlessly. They sent me random thinking of you texts. They allowed me and held my emotions when it maybe was a random Tuesday and we were in a cafe having the best day ever, drinking a matcha, and suddenly Cardi is crying. They gave me a hug. They let me cry it out, talk it out, time and time and time again. And that's all you really need. I think if you're supporting someone that's grieving, that's the most important thing. That's what really matters. It's just your presence. It's not having the perfect words. It's not knowing how to fix it. There's nothing to fix here, because what's done is sadly done. It's just about being there and holding someone in this very confusing time. I really urge you to not avoid it just because you're afraid that you might say the wrong thing, or avoid them, or avoid talking about it. I think that's what makes it worse. I feel like when I'm around people that get awkward or make me feel like my emotions are too much, or that they don't know what to say, like, it makes me feel even worse, because it makes me feel like they don't care. They're just, just shutting off because they're feeling uncomfortable, But I think the best thing, if you're around someone that's like crying or moving through grief, or for me, like when it's my dad's anniversary, like it's like weird people. I don't know how I'm going to respond, half the time. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm horrible. Yesterday I was like really fine-ish. Like I had a few little cry moments, but I felt supported enough, It's being able to be with someone that is just like, is there anything I can do for you today? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to tell me about your dad? Do you want to tell me about that person? Do you want to go watch a movie? Do you want to not talk about it? Like, I think it's just better to acknowledge than not, What I also want to say about friendships and relationships during grief is, for me, when I first was moving through it, I actually pushed away the people closest to me. I will never understand why, but I feel like you're in so much pain that the people closest to you, you're like, I don't want to lose you, so I don't want you to leave me. I honestly don't know what it is. Psychologists can probably debunk that one, but when I was going through it, I pushed away the people closest to me. I found it very hard to be around them. I felt like I was weighing on them because I didn't know when it was going to get easier and it was going to get better. If you're supporting someone going through grief, just prepare that they might push you away. Your job is just to be a solid unit and not take anything they do or say personally, and just be strong for them until they come out of that phase, and while they're moving through this time. And just remind them that you are not going anywhere, because I think what happened with me, at least, is from losing so many people from such a young age, not just my auntie and my dad, I've lost an uncle I was really close with, and multiple people. I have a serious issue with losing people. It's a trigger, it's a trauma response, and you almost try and control an outcome, I think, when you've got that kind of thing. So just stay strong for them, and you don't need to be perfect. Literally just saying, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I love you. I'm here to support. It means so much. And checking in on someone, even when they seem strong, just know that grief lives sometimes in very hidden parts of ourselves that we don't show many people. And there's definitely days where, like, I might hear a song, I might see something that reminds me of my dad, I might put on one of his old shirts and want to literally yeet it to the bathroom and sob, but I just take a breath, have a cry on the inside, my eyes might well up, and no one might even notice. But grief can be very silent, and it's very important, I think, to check in on people dealing with it, even if they seem like everything's fine. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it is pouring outside, and it feels very peaceful and beautiful in here right now. Like, this is heaven. She says this is heaven while talking about her dead dad. Interesting. Okay, this one is a big one. Grieving someone that you had a complicated relationship with. This was me. This kind of grief is extremely unique and extremely painful. I feel like you're not just mourning who they were, you're mourning who they could have been and what relationship you could have had with them. For me, I guess a bit of a backstory. I probably should have introed with the backstory. A long time ago, I did a podcast about this and about having a difficult relationship with my dad. But my younger years, I had a very difficult relationship with my dad. He was very tough and very old school. He was 14 years older than my mum. So yeah, definitely much more old school Australian, you know, tough love to the core, which now I value at my older age. But growing up with that was very challenging for me. And my parents had a very difficult relationship. So I grew up in a house where we were very lucky and went to great schools and had, you know, support in that way. But my parents fought a lot. And my dad was quite mean to my mum and quite verbally just nasty to my mum. And I'm a very protective person. My mum is the most important person in my life. And so I was very protective of her growing up. And so I think from a young age, seeing my dad be quite horrible to my mum made me really, really dislike him when I was old enough to decide where I could go, where I could stay. And like once they divorced, I was quite like team mum, very protective of my mum. And I just didn't enjoy being around my dad. Like their divorce went on for years and years and years, and it really ruined our whole family dynamic. It damaged my relationship with my brother. It was such a massive pain point in my life that I ran from, and I had to grow up very, very fast because when, you know, my parents divorced, I was almost like a stand-in mum for my mum while she was grieving the trauma that she'd been living in that relationship that was very challenging for her. So going through that at such a young age, I really pushed it all down. I never got support for it. I just dealt with kind of hating my dad when I was younger, like teenager, like I fucking hate my parents. Or I just hated my dad and I thought he was very cruel. I felt very misunderstood by him. I really, really pushed him away. I refused to see him a lot of the time. I refused to visit him, or I'd see him every once in a while. And I had to, you know, I had so much guilt about doing that when he passed, even though closer to when he passed, I knew I really wanted to fix my relationship with him and make up for a lot of lost time because I realized I only have one dad and he is on this planet for the first time too, learning how to navigate life. And while I don't need our relationship to be perfect, it does take two to tango. And my dad definitely tried to have a relationship with me, but I had to, you know, do what was right for me and protect myself. And I also want to say, if you've had this relationship with someone that maybe didn't make you feel so good. And he definitely didn't make me feel very good because, you know, he had his own grief and trauma. He probably didn't know how to express his emotions. He probably didn't grow up with the same, like the right support systems. So I know now that he was probably doing the best that he could. But you know what? When I was younger, I was doing the best that I could to navigate my own life and put my own boundaries in place. And while, you know, when he passed, I had so much pain and guilt for not trying harder, for not like trying to make it work, for not being around more. And then I just realized, you know, I did the best that I could with the tools that I had. And even though in this life I didn't get to have some of the conversations I wanted, don't cry. I didn't get to do a lot of the things with him that I wish we had enough time to heal and then do. I am very grateful for the lessons that he taught me. I think that's the tricky thing about having a complicated relationship with someone. The only way that I've been able to push past guilt for not having healed the relationship before he passed was ensuring that I honor every lesson that he wanted me to know, which he enforced with great strength and toughness. As much as I strongly disliked my dad growing up, I, in his passing, understand now every single lesson he was trying to teach me. And in a backwards, weird way, that is sometimes someone's way of showing up and showing love. Everyone has such different ways of showing up and showing love. And I'm not... This is just my story, and you definitely grieving someone that has actually physically abused you or harmed you or done horrible things to you, that is another level in itself. And I do understand maybe you even feel guilty for missing them or being upset that they've passed if they did horrible things to you, but it's normal. It's so complex. Don't beat yourself up. And it's easier said than done, because you probably will beat yourself up about any feeling you have. But that complexity, I do understand. It's the what could have been that definitely gets me. It's the milestone moments that I had hoped I would be able to get with my dad. Like, I used to just wish that when he was still alive that I had the courage to have these conversations with him and tell him how I was feeling and ask him how he was feeling. I just wanted to know more about his life and about him as a person so we could be humans together. But something that I'm understanding more and more now, something that I've learned since my dad passed, is that I actually feel closer to him now, which sounds crazy, than when he was alive. Obviously, you guys, if you've been here before, you know I'm very spiritual, and I do believe in the afterlife. I believe in angels. I believe in energy, and I always feel my dad's energy around me. These conversations that I wish I had with him, or if there's someone you've lost that you wanted to say something or do, they are listening. Whether we like it or not, they're seeing things, they're hearing things, they're still there. So these conversations I wish that I had with my dad, I still have them. And I feel like I can hear him clearer now than when he was alive, if that makes sense. His energy is softer, his energy feels warmer. I feel his remorse as well for what happened in our relationship, if that makes sense. And so I urge you to, if you felt like there was things unsaid or apologies that you want, or apologies that you wish to give, write them down or speak them out, say them in your head and just call them in and connect with them, because I promise they're there and they're listening. And random little things will happen. I'm like, that's so my dad. That is so my dad, sending little messages. And I think I was very nervous as well for people to see me grieving so deeply about losing my dad and then say to me, but you guys weren't even that close. And I think don't ever get it confused. If someone wasn't that close or someone had a really difficult relationship with the person that they've just lost, if anything, it's more challenging than if you were really close. Not more challenging, but it's in a very complex, different way. Because then you have a lot of things that you need to process about why you weren't close, and then the things that you wish you got to do. That's the one thing that lives with me the most, and not having that closeness and closure before they pass. Let's talk about what's helped me actually survive it. I love to talk about my dad to people, tell them stories about what I knew of him, my experiences with him, the things I love, the things that are funny, the things that I'm so similar with him about, or I talk to other people that were close to him. His friends will say to me like, God, you're so much like your dad. And I want to be like, I mean, that's helped me the most has definitely been big cry sessions with my mum. I think talking about the trauma we experienced from my dad, and then also the things that were hilarious about him, and then also the things that we miss, or the things that I'm struggling with, like coping with the thought of not having that male support. So, I mean, talking to people is the biggest healer in the world. Talking, crying, therapy. I had a therapist for quite a while. Once my dad had passed, I spent quite a lot of time walking. Walking helped me so much. I would go on the longest walks, listening to music, just thinking, sometimes crying. I mean, I've cried on so many walks thinking about my dad. So big sunnies on, let it all come out. Music, like just feeling everything, like crying when you need to cry. Do not hold that shit in. But being in nature was a massive thing for me. Like, I think a few weeks after dad passed, I went to Byron on my own. I rented this tree house. I had time off social media. I just completely zoned out and spent time on my own, getting into nature, just feeling and spending that time grounding again, moving my body and just slowly integrating normal pieces of life back again. And I mean, the biggest thing is just time and trusting in time, not in a time heals all wounds kind of way, just in the sense that over time, the pain becomes more familiar in a really way, but it becomes more familiar. and you just learn how to carry it better. If you're watching this and you're stuck in the thick of it, I just want to say you're not broken for the way that you're feeling, or if you're grieving someone that passed a long time ago, there is nothing wrong with you for still feeling this grief. It is completely normal. It is completely human. There's no right way to grieve. There is no timeline and there is no finish line. Some days you'll feel like yourself again, and then some days you'll spiral, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel it all. I've been there. That still happens to me 4 years down the track. I can promise you though, it does get softer. The grief doesn't necessarily go away and vanish. It's something that you can live with, and I promise you, you will get through it. And the thing is that you're still allowed to feel joy. You're allowed to laugh. You're allowed to fall in love. You're allowed to build a life without them. And that doesn't erase your love for them or their place in your life. They would want you to move forward strongly and holding them by your side. I always envision my dad walking right next to me or standing right behind me, encouraging me and pushing me along to achieve all the things that I want to achieve. And when I have big wins, I always think about my dad, and I always think, and my auntie Wendy, and I always think about how they're cheering for me on the other side and how proud they would be of me for achieving these things, even though it makes me upset that they're not physically here to see it. I trust deeply in every inch of my soul that they can see it and feel it more clearly than we probably know, you know? I want to read out something to finish this up that my beautiful friend Eilish sent me every single year when it's this time. She always knows it's a challenging time for me, and she always checks in on me and sends me the most beautiful message. And I thought I might read this out for you guys. You can either pretend that she's saying this to you, or if you're trying to support someone that's grieving, this is a very simple and helpful way that you can support. Dearest Cardi, I'm thinking of you today. I know this can bring back so many emotions, and I want you to know that I'm here for you always. I was reading something recently that really resonated with me, and it made me think of you and your dad. And it says, but as long as there's grief, I will endure it because it means that you were here and that it mattered. I truly believe that the depth of our grief is a testament to the incredible love we've experienced. Your dad loved you so, so much, and the beautiful memories you shared will always be part of you, even if it doesn't always feel like that. Watching you navigate life, especially these past few years, has filled me with so much admiration. You're incredibly strong, resilient, and kind, and I know your dad would be bursting with pride if he could see the amazing person you've become. He truly would be so proud of you and everything you've achieved and how you've continued to live life with such grace and courage. Sending you the biggest hug and all my love today. She's the best. And I hope, and that's her message to you as well, for someone that maybe you've lost. She then also sent me 3 incredible little pieces of prose about grief, and I wanted to read one out to properly close this off. Someone said grief is like glitter. It clings to everything, hides in corners, slips into your socks, appears on your fingertips when you're reaching for a glass of water or brushing your hair before bed. It settles in places no one else can see, and sometimes it sparkles. Sometimes it doesn't. I think that's true, not because it makes grief prettier, but because it makes it stubborn. Grief does not knock politely and leave when you ask. It spills, it stains, and it stays. People imagine grief as a clean wound. Blood, bandage, better. But really, it's a messy room you can't fully clean, a scent that lingers even after all the windows are opened, a sound you keep hearing long after the music stops. Some people lose things they love, books, cities, voices, future plans, and keep walking as if nothing happened. Others crumble at the touch of a sweater sleeve or the sound of a name. There's no proper timeline for learning how to live with what you miss. Some days you'll do it gracefully, other days you'll choke on it, and that's still living. And maybe that's the kindest thing about grief. It's evidence that something mattered, that someone left fingerprints on your heart so brightly that the light still catches on them, that you lived a moment so fully, its echoes find its way back into your lungs. So if it hurts, maybe that's okay. If it glitters in the dark and you cry when no one's looking, maybe that's okay too. You are not weak for remembering. You are not broken for carrying pieces of people with you. That's what makes you real. That's what makes you capable of love. And love in all its forms is the reason we ever grieve at all. Wow, that was a lot. And we got through it without big tears. Good job to me. If you're missing someone today, and if you feel comfortable, please feel free to share someone you're missing in the comments. This can be a space for connection and memory of someone if you wish to leave it down there. this is a really safe place and a beautiful community where you can lean on, and I will be reading all the comments and helping as much wherever I can. And please do let me know if there's other specific topics you want me to discuss. This was obviously a blanket for everything. I am sending you all so much love wherever you are. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you made it all the way to the end, hope that this helped a little or a lot. But please don't forget to comment, like if this was helpful, subscribe for more videos, and I will hopefully see you all in the next one. Mwah.